Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the monthly meeting of the Poway Unified School District Board of Education. It is the 14th of December, and the time is 6:09 p.m. We are starting this meeting with a moment of silence for a member of the PUSD family. We're mourning the loss of beloved ESS program aide, Ms. Imaris Naranjo. Former colleagues, her family, and families of the children she cared for shared these words of remembrance. Ms. Imaris has worked at Stone Ranch for so many years, and we will take solace in our beloved memories of her. She has worked with every age group, but mostly with our youngest kiddos in kindergarten and TK. She loved that. She loved themed dress-up days, art projects, dancing, and especially the students. She was a bright light with the biggest smile. She will be greatly missed. She was a kind, creative, and generous woman who always did all she could for the children. Imaris was easy to love. Her warm smile, her calm and easygoing demeanor made others very comfortable around her. Imaris is survived by her parents, siblings, and her daughter, Nastasia. Our heartfelt condolences to all who knew and loved her. Please join me in a moment of silence for Ms. Imaris Naranjo. Thank you. Please note this meeting may be recorded or broadcasted at the direction of the board, and the recordings or broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. Now, I invite you all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to Clerk Seitzma for the report out of closed session.
Thank you. Closed session began at 4:07. The Board of Education took the following action in closed session. In the matter of conference with legal counsel pending existing litigation, case number ADR 10162023, on a motion by O'Connor-Ratcliffe and a second by Couvret, the board voted unanimously to approve the settlement agreement. In the matter of conference with legal counsel pending existing litigation, case number OAH 2023 081029, on a motion by Seitzma and a second by Patel, the board voted unanimously to approve the settlement agreement. In the matter of conference with legal counsel pending existing litigation, case number OAH 2023 070899, on a motion by O'Connor-Ratcliffe and a second by Couvret, the board voted unanimously to approve the settlement agreement. In the matter of conference with legal counsel pending existing litigation, case number OAH 2023 080611, on a motion by Seitzma and a second by O'Connor-Ratcliffe, the board voted unanimously to approve the settlement agreement. In the matter of public employee appointment, Executive Director of Finance, Budget, and Accounting, on a motion by Patel and a second by Couvret, the board voted to take action in closed session to appoint Joy Ramiro as Executive Director of Finance, Budget, and Accounting. The vote of the board was unanimous. There was no other reportable action taken during closed session. Closed session was adjourned at 5:59.
Thank you, Clerk Seitzma. I do have a statement that we have prepared as a board that I'm going to read out loud. During the board's November 15th special meeting, I announced that the board will initiate a formal independent investigation of the Del Norte High School softball program to ensure that all students feel safe and supported. As an update, the board has retained the law firm of Danis, Wolver, and Kelly to conduct the investigation, and such investigation shall commence immediately. In addition to speaking to all known witnesses, the investigators also want to hear from any other individuals with firsthand and personal knowledge and experience with the Del Norte High School softball program. To that end, if you believe that you have factual and material information to share regarding the Del Norte High School softball program, please email the following address: DNHS softball investigation at dwkesq.com. Again, that's DNHS softball investigation at dwkesq.com. And provide your contact information and a short summary of your involvement with the softball program. Please note that only those with firsthand factual and material information will be included in the investigation. Thank you, and that concludes the statement from the board. We are now on item 3. What was this? 3, members in attendance. We have all board members in attendance. Now it's welcome to the public. Ms. Trivedi.
Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Board of Education. If you would like to address the board on any agenda item, please complete a speaker slip. All requests to speak must be submitted to the clerk of the board before the agenda item comes up. Speaking time for agenda items is 2 minutes per speaker and 12 minutes total per item. If you would like to address the board on a non-agendized item, you may do so under item 4.2, public comments. Speaking time is limited to 2 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 30 minutes total unless waived by the board president. There will be a 30-second yellow warning light when time is running out. Speakers may only speak on one topic under item 4.2 and may not defer their speaking time to another individual. If there are concerns regarding specific individuals, it is preferred that the speaker refrain from naming them publicly to respect their privacy. The board will accept and review any written materials that would provide more specific information. The Brown Act does not permit board action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda, but your concerns will be referred to staff. With that said, welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Ms. Trivedi. Item 5, approval of agenda sequence. This is an action item. Is there a motion?
Wait, any items to pull?
Any items to pull? Approval of agenda sequence. So that's not
Motion to approve.
Staff has an item to pull.
to pull off the agenda? Or to move?
To move it.
Okay, which one is that?
So due to high school students present tonight for item 4.3, the CSBA Golden Bell Award presentation, and the additional length of time that it takes for item 3.6, the organizational meeting, staff would like to move 4.3 directly after 4.1 so that the student board representatives and before the public comments to allow the students who came to accept the award can go home to do their studies as soon as possible.
Thank you. With that change, is there a motion to approve the agenda sequence? Is there a second? On a motion by Ms. Plotsky and a second by Dr. Seitzma, all those in favor, starting at the end? Aye. And the rest of the board? Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. So that brings us to item 3.6, organizational meeting. Dr. Phelps.
Thank you. Tonight is an important meeting. It is the annual organizational meeting for our school board. First, I want to express my deepest gratitude to all of the trustees for their hard work and commitment over the past year. You have supported our students, staff, and schools and district with thoughtful decisions and discussions, brought a level of professionalism, and fostered a spirit of commitment, collaboration, and collegiality to our board meetings that is greatly appreciated by all. Thank you for your dedicated service and your leadership. At this time, I would like to thank President Patel for her outstanding service as our board president over the past year, as well as her service on the Board of Trustees for the last 7 years. Dr. Patel, it has been a pleasure to work with you. I would like to especially recognize the professionalism that you brought to the role, and thank you for all of your hard work and advocacy on behalf of our students, families, staff, and PUSD. Could you please join me in front of the dais for the presentation of your plaque?
Thank you, Dr. Phelps and colleagues, for giving me the privilege of being the board president for that last year. We now need to complete the procedures for conducting the annual board organization, which is conducted every December. This includes the election of officers, appointing of representatives to our various board committees, and confirming the dates of the Board of Education meetings for the 2024 year. The first step is electing of our officers, including a president, vice president, and clerk. As the current president, policy requires that I conduct the nomination and election of the office of president only. Once it has been completed, then the new president will take nominations and conduct separate elections for the vice president and clerk, as well as the assignments of committees. So with that, are there any nominations for board president? Ms. Platsky.
I nominate Michelle Redmond to be president.
Are there any other nominations? It's wonderful. Should we take a vote? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. As the new president, I get to do the rest of these. So are there any nominations for vice president?
I nominate Cindy Seitzma.
Any other nominations? Hearing none. Starting with our student board member. All in favor? Aye. That is unanimous. Congratulations, Vice President Seitzma. Are there any nominations for board clerk?
I'll nominate Ginger Kruvrat.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of Ms. Couvret being our next clerk, starting with our student board member, and everyone else? Aye. Thank you. That does conclude all of our new board officers. And this does take us to appointing representatives. We have several to go through, and I'd just like to fly through this. If you would like the position, let me know. County Board of Education representative. This past year, it was Ms. Couvret and me. Ms. Couvret, would you like to continue in that role? Okay. Anyone else? Any alternate? Anybody? You'd like to be the alternate? You got it. Cal SSD. This year, it was Dr. Seitzma and Dr. Patel, and I was the alternate. Would you like to continue? Would you like to continue?
Sure.
Yes? Anyone want to be the alternate? Okay, I'll continue in that role. CSBA Delegate Assembly. Dr. Patel, would you like to continue in that role?
Yes, please.
San Diego County Board of Supervisors. It was Ms. Couvret, and I was the alternate. Would you like to continue in that role? Okay. Anyone like to take over as alternate? Okay, I'll stay there. City of Poway Subcommittee Liaisons, Dr. Seitzma and Ms. Couvret, would you like to continue?
Yes.
Makes a lot of sense since you're our Poway reps. Okay. City of San Diego Subcommittee Liaisons, Ms. Plotsky and me. Would you like to continue? Okay. We'll keep it as is. Thank you. Poway Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Couvret with Dr. Seitzma as the alternate. Would you like to continue? Yes? Okay. San Diego North Chamber of Commerce Liaison, Dr. Patel, it was you. Would you like to continue? All right. Palomar Council PTA Board Rep is rotating. The Special Education Community Advisory Committee is rotating. Personnel Commission Liaison was Ms. Plotsky. Ms. Plotsky, would you like to continue? Okay. And Palomar Health, Ms. Plotsky and Dr. Seitzma as the alternate. Would you like to continue in that role? No. And would you like to take over the main role there? Dr. Seitzma?
Sure.
Okay, it's you. Anyone interested in being the alternate there? I'm not sure we need one. That group does not really meet,
I
but.
can be an alternate if you need one.
Okay, let's mark you down then. And Patel as the alternate. All right, I think I got them all, and I've written them down. I can pass the list down so you can get the record on that. Let's see. Okay, we're going to call a vote on the appointments that I just ran through. Any discussion before we go? No? Okay, I'll start with Ms. Trivedi. In favor of all of these board appointments? Thank you, and everyone else?
Aye.
Aye, all right, that passes unanimously. We're going to take a real quick recess at this point, so our seating can be rearranged a little bit. It is 6:34, 24. You didn't give me that. Oh, where's the fun in president without this? There we go. I can read a clock. That brings us to our student board representative reports, 4.1. Let's have Ava Razone from Rancho Bernardo High School. Welcome.
Good evening, and thank you so much for having me. My name is Ava Azan, and I'm the ASB president at Rancho Bernardo High School. This is my last board meeting of the year, and I'm thrilled to share what has been going on at Rancho Bernardo. The Broncos have been hard at work with all of the activities we had so far, and just to name a few, ASB hosted the annual Multicultural Fair. Our dance programs performed in 3 jolly nights of their winter dance concert. Orchestra had a sold-out concert at Poway Performing Arts Center, and choirs sang their hearts away at their winter concert. Tonight, our award-winning band is also performing in their winter concert. ASB is excited to announce that we're hosting our annual Powder Puff Flag Football game, also known as Bronco Ball, on January 20th and February 3rd, where we will be facing the Poway High School Titans. We would like to congratulate the Royal Regiment for their outstanding performance at the SCS BOA 6A Marching Band Championships over break. They not only secured the top score of the evening, but also earned high music honors, clinching the Royal Regiment's 3rd consecutive gold medal. With the year coming to an end, ASB has put together fun activities for their peers to bring their holiday spirit. We have a Hanukkah menorah, Kwanzaa kinara, and our annual holiday Bronco tree displayed in the small quad. The holiday spirit is also accompanied by our Holiday Spirit Week, holiday window decorating contest, a holiday social for students, and tomorrow's performing arts holiday assembly put on by our very own band, choir, and orchestra programs. Winter sports currently has our campus filled with many student athletes from all over the district, and we are so proud of all of our winter student athletes for kicking off the season with a great start. Blue Crew is hosting their toy drive where students can donate new blankets, hand warmers, gloves, beanies, and any unwrapped toys and shoes. In the month of November, RB also had their annual Human Relations Conference for all the sophomores on campus, where they spent the whole day learning about their peers and being led through activities by a motivational speaker. Thank you to our amazing PTSA for all their support and helping us put on this amazing experience for our students. Bringing this year to a close, we'd like to give you a huge thanks, along with our RBHS administration and staff, for making school and events a safe and fun place to be at. Our school support system has created a positive impact on the mental health of our students, while also creating an amazing culture for everyone on campus, which values diversity, equity, inclusion, and representation for every single Bronco. I'd like to take this time to thank you all very much for this opportunity to share with you just how great it is to be a Bronco.
Thank you, Ms. Razan. And now from Westview High, Josh Yang.
Good evening, board members. My name is Josh Yang, and I'm currently serving as the Westview ASB president. I'm super excited to share what Westview has been up to since the start of this school year. Our school-wide homecoming dance this year, Spider-Man Homecoming, was planned and executed very smoothly, and we had fun activities such as a silent disco, a game room, and a cotton candy vendor to satisfy everyone's sweet tooth. Westview's ASB's Spirit Committee also planned an exciting Spirit Week, where we held Spirit Days that correlated with our Spider-Man theme. During the week, we also had fun lunchtime activities such as boat racing in our pool and a staff versus student volleyball tournament. Class presidents were also busy with one of Westview's most loved traditions, float building, where students got a chance to meet their fellow classmates, share dinner, and get crafty. After float judging by administration, I'm proud to announce that class of 2024 came in at first place. We concluded our busy homecoming week with our pep rally, where we had some classic games such as Finish the Lyric and some new ones such as Spider-Man Obstacle Course and Spidey Sense. Westview ASB's Culture Committee has also been busy at work, improving school culture and celebrating every Wolverine's heritage. We held Suicide Prevention Week, where we educated students about support resources and also passed out yellow ribbons to stand in solidarity. We also held a Start with Hello week under the Sandy Hook Promise organization, where we strive to connect people on campus and promote a strong and safe Westview family. We also celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month through activities like luminaria lights at our football game, a movie lunch, and loterias. In October, we held a multicultural club fair, an opportunity for cultural clubs on campus to showcase their heritage and educate students. Last week, ASB also hosted Westview's Unity Day, a day where all sophomores on campus got the chance to bond with their classmates, form new friendships, and hear from phenomenal guest speakers like Keith Hawkins. Our other groups on campus are also very busy at work. This week, Westview Gold Band and Orchestra is holding their Winter is Coming show, a festive display of their musical expertise. Westview Theater Company held their fall play, a mystery named The Plot Like Gravy Thickens, and just casted for their spring show, which is Mean Girls. Westview Dance Troupe also held their winter show, Dancing Through the Snow, last Wednesday through Friday. Our football team moved to the Division IV Valley League this year, and I'm happy to announce that we advanced to semifinals and held our first ever CIF home game. Last but definitely not least, Westview Cheer placed third in their first competition of the season and qualified for nationals. On the academic side of things, the Westview class of 2024 has been busy at work finishing their college apps, which the Westview counselors in our Wolverine Center have been helping with through their weekly college workshops. Additionally, during October, Westview's outstanding 24 National Merit Scholarship semifinalists were announced. Westview has been bustling these past few months, and I can't wait to see what the new year brings. Also, a few weeks ago, Westview ASB held our 2024 Executive Council elections, and I'm proud to announce that our outstanding Lana Pham Nguyen will be the Westview ASB president for the 2024 calendar year, and will also be our next Westview representative at PUSD board members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to represent Westview as ASB president this past year, and I wish everyone a very happy holiday season.
And finally, we have Kennedy Bass from Twin Peaks Middle School. Welcome.
Good evening, PUSD board members. My name is Kennedy Bass, and I am an eighth grader and current ASB president of Twin Peaks Middle School. Before I start, I would love for each of you to think back to middle school and maybe think of a memory or event that you may remember. Okay, hold that thought. We will come back to that later. To keep you in the loop of all the great things we have planned for this year, I would really love to tell you about our extracurricular activities, spirit days, and school events that we have at TPMS. We have so many amazing opportunities for students to get involved at our school, including CJSF, Web, Avid, Club Live, and more. We kicked off the school year with a club fair, where students had the opportunity to learn more about and join any of our 16 student interest clubs. Clubs like these can help our students navigate new surroundings, meet new friends, and become part of the RAM family. At Twin Peaks, we really enjoy our Spirit Weeks. My favorite one is Start with Hello Week, where we teach the kids that a simple hello can start a great new friendship. Another one that I love is Red Ribbon Week. This Spirit Week revolves around every student pledging to be drug-free. As students progress through middle school, it is a great reminder of how drugs can negatively affect your life. I always love to see how creative Rams can get when dressing up during these Spirit Weeks. Every Friday at TPMS is Ram Pride Friday, where students and staff are encouraged to wear TPMS gear to school. Over the last few years, we've implemented a spirit tracking system, which has allowed us to collect information about how many students are participating in our spirit days on average. And we are pleased to report that 77% of TPMS students have participated in 2 or more spirit days so far this year. Speaking of events, we kicked off this school year by hosting 3 different pep rallies for each grade. We played multiple interactive games and tossed free TPMS Ram Pride into the crowd. I think this was a great way to welcome the kids back to school and really set the tone for a very spirited year. We also held our first ever haunted house on October 30th, which was an absolute blast. Our ASB team was tasked with decorating and even scaring students as they walked through the haunted house. We had an amazing turnout and the students really enjoyed it. This has been the best event so far. But we still have so many events like our winter semi-formal dance, which is actually tomorrow. We have chosen the theme Winter Wonderland, and I know it will be a hit. When Mrs. Crow, our ASB director, mentioned using a new program called 5-Star at School to manage our student events and activities, I was a little nervous. But when I tell you how much time and effort we have saved on this amazing program, it is unbelievable. The program consists of online bathroom passes, the ability to sell and purchase dance tickets online, and a system that allows us to digitally reward kids by giving them points for participation in school events. Students can use those points and redeem some super cool prizes. I have especially loved using this program to see how many students participate in our events. Like I mentioned earlier, currently 77% of the TPMS students are participating regularly in our extracurricular activities and spirit days. That makes me so happy to see how the participation has increased over my 3 years of being at Twin Peaks and in ASB. And I hope it continues to increase as the years go on. The last thing I want to touch on is the quote that I chose for our ASB class to guide our student leadership this year. One of the marvelous things about community is that it enables us to welcome and help people in a way we couldn't as individuals. This quote highlights how important it is to work as a community in order to make a difference. Earlier in my speech, I asked you all to think of a middle school and maybe some memories you had. Some of you may have remembered fond memories with friends or a teacher that really made an impact on you. Or maybe those years were tougher and you didn't think of a memory you had hoped to remember. You had only hoped those middle school years passed quickly. Our goal at TPMS is to do everything we can to ensure the students have those memories and experiences that they can look back on years to come as a positive one. That they felt welcome and cared for at school. I mean, really, what more could you ask for? Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you so much, Kennedy. That takes us to 6.3, CSBA Golden Bell Award. Dr. Phelps.
At this time, we would like to officially present to the Board of Education and the Superintendent Student Advisory Council the CSBA Golden Bell Award in the category of Social Emotional Health and Wellness. On November 30th, PUSD was awarded this prestigious Golden Bell Award by the California School Boards Association at the CSBA State Conference, highlighting the best education practices across the state of California. The SSAC purpose is to advise district leadership on issues facing students, provide input and student voice on district decisions affecting students, develop students' leadership skills, and implement a community service project to benefit fellow students and our school community. These service projects have included a No Place for Hate conference, Week of Wellness, Conquer Conference, and Pursuing Passion, Not Perfection conference. Each conference was designed to meet the prevailing needs of students expressed by students in a district-wide survey regarding their social, emotional health, and mental well-being, such as increased belonging and inclusivity, increased awareness of available resources, healthy ways to relieve stress, and a more balanced approach to academics. So at this time, can the board members, Ms. Peck, and the SSAC members in the audience please join me in the front of the dais so we can present the Golden Bell Award and take pictures.
You guys are here repping the work of past years' student advisory councils, and we expect big things from you this year, too. So no pressure, but you have to be awesome. And if you'd like to stick around for the fun, you can. Otherwise, we understand if you'd like to head out. Thanks for being here. That takes us to public comments, 4.2. I will say that we have more than 15 comments, so if you are willing to group your comment with someone with a similar comment, I invite you to do so we can get through everyone. Otherwise, we're going to cut it off at 15. There is also the option that if you just like to state your position on something, you could take a lot less than 2 minutes and we could move on with some of the additional comments. But I'll go to Clerk Couvrette.
Okay, first up is Lindsay Ball.
I'm scared of being myself and them punishing me in some way because I'm trans, so I don't feel safe to be myself. Luca, age 16. I've felt suicidal so many times because of how they treat me. All I want is to be a girl, and they don't understand that. They just keep calling me a freak. Savannah, age 16. These are quotes from transgender children posted online for Transgender Day of Visibility. This is what it's like for some kids to try to talk to their parents about their gender. My name is Lindsay Ball, and I have 2 children in PUSD schools. I'm here tonight to ask you to reject any requests to instate parental notification policies regarding children's gender expression in school. These policies are dangerous and have the potential to harm transgender children. If a child showed up at school one day wearing makeup or different colored hair, or requested they be called by a new nickname, the teacher would not be expected to immediately report this to their parents. Kids experiment. That's how they learn who they are. Whether it's clothes or pronouns, kids need to have the freedom to experiment with these harmless forms of expression without fear that every single activity is going to be reported back to their parents, who may reject them and threaten them for these behaviors. If parents don't already know about their child's gender expression at school, then clearly the child does not feel comfortable or safe sharing that with them. Let kids be kids. Let them have the space to be who they are in whatever way they feel is appropriate without having to fear every adult they encounter. Thank you.
Joan Alvin.
This is the holiday season. Christmas is a federal holiday. Our minds and our spirits should point to collaboration for the common good. Instead, we see universities tolerating hate speech. We see university presidents unable to condemn their own students and professors who applaud terrorists and genocide. These university presidents were condemned by the White House and by Congress. Both Democrat and Republican members of Congress voted to condemn these university presidents. These universities have not applied free speech codes in the same way. They forbid misusing pronouns, but allow the slogan "from the river to the sea," that means to abolish the state of Israel. That is not free speech when it menaces conduct toward Jewish students. How did this horrible context develop? Well, students are being taught to divide their peers. They are taught that Jews are white adjacent and have an apartheid segregationist state. False. That Asians are white adjacent because they achieve. Those are racial stereotypes and harmful. Those racial stereotypes are used to indoctrinate. And where are they found? These divisive racial stereotypes are found in ethnic studies and ethnic literature curriculum here in the Poway Unified School District. These are the same concepts found in the DEI departments, not only at universities who are condemned, but in many universities and K-12 schools. These racial stereotypes have led to anti-Semitism. They have led to proclaiming the genocide of Jews. For this national holiday of Christmas, one intended to show goodwill to all, the Poway Unified School Board should reject the curriculum and DEI frameworks that indulge divisiveness and false racial stereotypes. Instead, you should adopt constructive ethnic studies. That's realism and critical thinking. It is not indoctrination. it doesn't lead to anti-Semitism. Thank you.
Byron Yafuso.
There have been serious allegations against the Poway Unified School District Superintendent alleging that she abused her administrative district power in relation to a conflict of interest involving her daughter. More specifically, she is a co-defendant in a lawsuit against her and all of Poway's board members alleging that she used her power to take remedial and punitive action against students she felt were bullying her daughter. Even more disconcerting is that she is alleged to have abused her administrative powers against PUSD students, those she is responsible for protecting. The complaint in a lawsuit raises at least a concern that it is possible for a PUSD administrator to abuse administrative power in the presence of a personal conflict of interest. Maybe these alleged abuses occurred, maybe they didn't. Maybe the lawsuit will bring more evidence to light. But either way, the voters in the Poway Unified School District are entitled to some reassurances from this board. The voters in PUSD need to know whether the board members feel the alleged abuses, if true, are acceptable to them. I call on each individual member of this board to take actions to publicly indicate to PUSD voters where each of you stands. Specifically, I call on this board to take a vote on a resolution to adopt a written policy requiring any school administrator to recuse him or herself from investigations and remedial actions involving a PUSD student who is a family member or close friend of the administrator. Putting in place a conflicts of interest recusal policy is the minimum. I further call on the board to publish the procedure and findings of the evaluation you were reported to have conducted into the superintendent after last month's board meeting. We district voters need enough information to decide for ourselves whether the evaluation was conducted in a manner designed to find the truth. Silence is not an option. If you do not conduct a vote, you will be presumed to condone the acts that were alleged. If you don't publish your vote, we'll presume the same thing, and that's okay. I'm out of time.
Sarah Watkins. Sarah Watkins. Peter Goebel.
Good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Dr. Phelps. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you tonight. My name is Peter Goebel. I'm currently the booster president of the Mount Carmel High School Instrument Music Program. I've been heavily involved in the program and have been in the booster board for about 2 years. I'm here tonight representing and speaking on behalf of our students, staff, and parents. With news about the block grant and the Prop 28 funding, we wanted to ask the board to elaborate on the following 3 items. Programs Club had no easy path forward with a continuous series of roadblocks that prevent them from handling operational costs and paying the appropriate bills and expenses which come with offering the very best experiences possible to our youth. What help can we give these to the world-class ensembles that we have here in our district? How are programs expected to be sustainable if funding is not appropriately provided and opportunities seized by the district? To allot only $775,000 for all schools in our district for instrument purchases is, in my opinion, a very low number. Has anyone looked at how much an instrument for students actually costs? What will happen to the money allocated to these programs for the block grant and Prop 28 funds? The next question is to ask, are we planning on using these funding opportunities to supplant already existing teacher positions? Is this something that is already happening? How many teachers are receiving these changes? Shouldn't we support the programs and their needs for instruments, travel opportunities, uniforms, facilities, bringing equitable opportunities for all students who want to pursue music and the performing arts? Our final item in the discussion is our one visual performing arts, the VAPA coordinator. We would like to know if that position is being supported by the district and not just set up for failure. One person overseeing over 40 schools in our district, each with their own set of performing arts, seems to be a lot for one person alone. As a band parent, I see this from my similar lens because it takes a village to run one high school music program, let alone five comprehensive high school programs, 7 middle schools, and over 20 elementary school sites. Instrumental music and performance arts have been the very core and backbone of the visual and the legacy of grantees and greatness and champions here in our own backyard cannot continue if we lack the support of our students.
Sir, your mic is, and your time is up. Thank you so much for your time. I think that we have the answers to all of your questions, and I'll make sure somebody gets back to you.
Thank you very much.
Lenny Seachrist.
Misinformation and misinformed. Buzzwords I keep hearing from district leadership. Last month, Christine told the media members of the public were making accusations and spreading misinformation against the superintendent. The public was expected to take her word on that. The next day, the board made a shared statement claiming some members of the public are making misinformed claims about student and employee conduct involving the Del Norte High School softball program. After that slap in the face to the victim's face, the public learned of a lawsuit with evidence backing up a serious complaint that was provided to the board months ago. Allegedly, Christine asked admins of a local social media group not to allow anonymous posts bashing Phelps with false and misleading things. Efforts to appeal to a social media admin who knew little to nothing about Clappergate to only allow people to speak their mind if they expose themselves to you is frustrating. You may see it as an effort to mitigate further damage, but others see it as an effort to protect the wrongdoer, persuade public opinion, and prevent citizens from determining truth on their own. At a recent PUSD event, I noticed Christine and Ginger made interesting comments regarding misinformation on social media groups before Christine and former trustee TJ Zane provided misinformation in connection with a discontinued program. Had the misinformation not been corrected, those in the audience would have been misinformed by an official source and could have unknowingly spread that misinformation to others to influence opinion. The point being that district leadership isn't the authority on truth. I pray the politicians here in PUSD's Wild West make 2024 a year of transparency and accountability, and that students, parents, teachers, and staff reject being silenced by intimidation and fear of retaliation.
Lori Greenan. Lori Greenan.
Hello, this is Jeff Schmidt. My name is Lori Grennan. We are co-founders of a nonprofit, Preserve Wild Poway. This evening, we would like to share with you a magical place, which happens to be right next to Meadowbrook Middle School. At the end of Meadowbrook Lane, there is a 26-acre parcel next to the school ball field. The parcel is surrounded on 3 sides by the Meadowbrook Ecological Preserve. This parcel presents PUSD with an exceptional opportunity for outdoor nature and life science education. It could serve as an invaluable venue for teaching children about local imperiled coastal sage scrub habitat and the diverse range of animals that rely on it for survival. In the rainy season, a thriving wetland pond ecosystem emerges. It is a home to threatened and endangered species. This includes the spadefoot toad, listed as threatened by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the endangered San Diego fairy shrimp. The coastal sage scrub is richly represented here, featuring various plants and characteristic animals, such as our state bird, the California quail, which often with its young in tow. Raptors like owls and kestrels are observed by from the property, offering a unique educational experience. Moreover, there is a rare opportunity to hear and spot an endangered California gnatcatcher, and they're hard to find, some of which call this parcel home. They sound like crying kittens. As a retired educator, I know the importance of real-life experiences for students. Creating an educational natural park next door to Meadowbrook Middle School.
Jeff Schmidt.
Hello, my name is Jeff Schmidt. I would like to continue this topic where my colleague Lori left off. I need to announce that this 26-acre parcel is currently under threat due to a housing development plan. However, there is hope that the landowner may consider selling it for conservation purposes. Southern California has some of the most threatened habitats globally, and our residents have a unique chance to learn from it and appreciate this ecosystem firsthand. The importance of educating our children about this rare and declining habitat cannot be overstated, as it not only shapes their understanding of the local environment, but also contributes to global awareness about the need to protect our natural areas. I urge you to consider the potential of utilizing this parcel as an outdoor living laboratory to represent and teach about our coastal sage scrub habitat. Preserve Wild Poway has already been in contact with the landowner, the wildlife agencies, and the city of Poway with this proposal. Your support in advocating for the preservation of this property is vital. Please join us in encouraging these entities to prioritize conservation efforts and ensure the longevity of this unique educational resource. With your backing, we might be able to tip the scale toward the beneficial decision to preserve this area. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. We left some flyers on the table outside and with information about this parcel and our organization, PWP, or Preserve Wild Poway. Please visit our website and subscribe to our newsletter. Thank you.
Jennifer Rosenberg. Jennifer, okay, thank you.
Is it this one? So I can honestly tell you, my husband and I moved here 20-some years ago before we had any children because the Poway system had a stellar reputation for education. Now, I can tell you that I am flat out embarrassed to be a part of the district that has gained so much attention in the media recently for Clappergate. What I want to know, I think it raises a lot of questions. What makes this incident significant enough to take such drastic action against a student? Further, has any other bullying incident been punished with the level of attention and severity? And I urge all of you to ask yourselves if you are acting in the best interest of the students and their educational needs.
Joe Smith. Joe Smith. Okay. Concerned softball player.
Hello, I'm a senior and softball player from Del Norte High School. I, along with some of my teammates, were present at the November board meeting and shared with you our concerns about the abuse of power that's present in our program. Specifically, how we were treated by the superintendent following our banquet in May and the threats that she made to many senior and junior players. We hoped that you guys would listen to what we had to say and address the superintendent's actions, but this isn't what happened. Instead, you publicly labeled what we had to say as misinformation and announced that while you wouldn't be investigating the abuse of power on part of the superintendent, you would instead launch yet another investigation into our softball program. You can probably imagine how much of a slap in the face it was to hear that us students would be investigated again instead of the person who was the root of the problem. Was this just retaliation for us speaking up and bringing to light the problems surrounding the administrators in this district? I would also like to talk about how one of our coaches, Coach Tom Paranto, has been treated during this situation. He's an absolutely wonderful person. He regularly gives hitting lessons at Del Norte to high schoolers and also younger softball players. However, after an off-season softball workout a few weeks ago that he was at the fields for but wasn't even coaching, he was giving hitting lessons, he received a call from a school administrator saying that he was no longer allowed to be on campus because he made the superintendent and her daughter feel uncomfortable. Tom Paranto is an excellent coach, supportive of all student athletes, and does not deserve to be retaliated against because he reported the superintendent's misconduct. And by the way, many of us students are incredibly uncomfortable with the superintendent being at all of our practices, but we don't have the power of being able to tell her to leave. You guys have said multiple times that you wish to work in the best interest of the students involved, so please start working in our best interest and not in the best interest of the superintendent. Thank you.
Judy Simmeroff. Judy Simmeroff. Judy Simmeroff.
Superintendent Phelps has publicly expressed that she feels that she's being targeted for political reasons. To the trustees, isn't your position on the school board a political assignment? Each of you ran your campaigns expressing to your constituents that you would vote on issues that would be in the best interest of the district. We are the district. We are the families who send our children to school and trust the decisions you make will keep them safe. Superintendent Phelps, you are not an elected official. Dr. Patel, you are elected official and have the power to fire the superintendent. There are two sides of every story. The message from the board is the softball girls and their parents are liars. Superintendent Phelps did nothing wrong and her daughter is a victim. If this is the case, why did the school not put into immediate action the anti-bully protocol prior to the softball banquet? Why did the disciplinary actions against the girls on the team start after the softball banquet? I think the board, the elected officials, should fire Superintendent Phelps. Thank you.
Tim Tim Dockery. Tim? There he comes.
Hi, my name is Tim Doherty. I'm a parent and active volunteer in the district. I'm here tonight to call for the Board of Trustees and administration to refocus its attention on academics, grades, and test results. We clearly still need to overcome the learning losses that occurred from the closure of schools. Recently, the 2022-23 results from the California Assessment Student Performance and Progress tests were published. This is the first clean year-over-year comparison we've had since 2019. As a district, 74.6% of students meet or exceed the standard in English, a year-over-year decline of 1.3%. 66.9% of students meet or exceed mathematics, year-over-year improvement of 1%. While these results are better than the state of California, they are again below 2019 levels. Over 2/3 of PUSD schools had a year-over-year decline in the percent of students that met or exceeded the standard in English. Almost half had a decline in math. More than 1/3 declined in both subjects. In fact, 4 schools have less than 50% of their student body at or above the standard in math. 1 school is below the state score of 46.6% in English. Year over year, almost 2/3 of elementary schools declined in English, almost half declined in math, more than 1/3 declined in both subjects. All six middle schools declined in English. 2 declined in math, 2 declined in both subjects. Over half of the high schools declined in English, 2 declined in math, and 2 declined in both subjects. One high school has less than 50% of the student body that meets the math standard. Students are still struggling. Entire schools are still struggling. Please refocus on what's most important, and that's academics. Thank you.
Karen Ogden. Karen Ogden.
Hi, I'm Karen Ogden, and it was such a pleasure to have taught in Poway Unified for 29 years. These past 10 years, I've had the opportunity to invest full-time in research and strategies focusing on the leadership and wellness of our students. Tonight, I would like to recognize and thank an individual who played a significant role as a champion for the mission of Solifex. Greg Mizell, you took a chance as we brought 30 college students into Del Norte's ENS department to work with students each year to pilot our program. Your guidance and support made us realize just how much you care about your students as people, their well-being, and your belief in educational innovation. Your trust in our capabilities has been a driving force in our $500,000 funding through Brian Mainshine's office, which allowed us to bring our Journey program to 3 school districts in our county. In addition, Solifex has successfully achieved a pivotal sale to Avid, a testament to our collaborative efforts and shared vision. We are elated to announce that this milestone will impact the lives of 100,000 plus students next year through our country, Canada, and Australia. A special thanks also to Kelly Burke, Dave Lemaster, who very clearly early on took the time to invest in us. Michelle and Darshana for taking the time to observe the program in action and spreading the word, and Ginger and her husband John being cheerleaders for change. In closing, on behalf of Solifex, I'd like to thank you all for your commitment and your belief in the transformative power of education through innovation, as we strive to grow stronger student leaders in Poway Unified and across the nation. Thank you.
Maggie Casio.
Hello. Is it this one? Can't see from the back. Good evening. Actually, I want to start by acknowledging the many fantastic, dedicated teachers, staff, counselors, and administrators that are in PUSD that teach and connect and lead our students with fairness, with passion, and integrity. I'm really grateful for them. There's so many. I will say, Poway Unified parents, we do not agree on everything. We have a lot of different opinions. Me personally, I want my kids to read all the banned books. But one thing that we will agree on is if you ask us what characteristics, what qualities we want in our administrators and our leaders, it's going to be honesty and integrity. And especially after what we went through with our previous superintendent, right? So that's what I want, honesty and integrity. I really don't care if PUSD has a great mission statement or a new logo or whether or not the superintendent dresses up for Halloween. I just don't care. What I want is my children to see adults who model good behavior and kindness and respect. But what my kids have actually experienced, unfortunately, is bullying from other students that was never effectively addressed, threats and intimidation from a school administrator, and even heckling from parents at an opposing school after a sporting event. So obviously, this is not, our current culture is not one of integrity. And I think that does start at the top. And I do want to see the board make some changes to help fix this. In particular, I would like to see a policy regarding district employees who have students in the district. Put in some place some guide rails to prevent situations where a conflict of interest could lead to unfair treatment of a student. And I believe this would also benefit the children of the employees. So let's get this district back on track. Let's really create world-class learners who are also principled members of our community because they've had great role models. Thank you.
Frank Shu. Frank Shu.
All right, good evening, Board Trustees. I would like to bring to your attention to the latest results Tim just brought up. Overall, PUSD students are worse off in their English scores in 2023 than in 2022. More importantly, the so-called underrepresented minority students have consistently had the lowest performance levels in both English and math and since 2015. In fact, the disparities are growing at an alarming rate, which means that all your years-long ideological programs, including diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, racial equity initiatives, and ethnic studies courses have failed disastrously. So my question to you, does the DEI dogma you support and implement truly support its intended beneficiaries or harm them? Another question is the school district discriminating against disadvantaged students more so under your DEI programming than before? Otherwise, how would you explain the glaring disparities? I urge you to analyze and review all data and evidence carefully. District decisions regarding any policy change should be based on facts and data. But the recent failure of the leadership to address bad conduct leads me to believe the opposite. When you choose to spend taxpayer money defending this bully superintendent, you expose your corruption. You only care about power. Your inaction speaks loud that you have lost the ability to look into these legitimate problems and find a solution. I urge you all to either discipline this bully as soon as possible, settle the lawsuit to save taxpayers' money, or simply resign. I have lost trust in every single one of you except Trustee Plosky.
Thank you, Mr. Zhu. That's your time.
Rebecca Clockley? Oakley, sorry.
Before you begin, Clerk Couvrette, how many more cards do we have? Two, and I know that not everyone took up their entire amount of time. How much extra time do we have? With the board's allowance, I would allow the last two speakers to go as well. Okay, thank you, proceed.
Since none of the elected members of you responded to an email of mine a few weeks ago, an unelected member did, and thank you very much for that. Per that email, it seems as though the board is under the impression that keeping a child's transgender identification from parents is a matter of state law. Well, per the transcript from the Mirabelli motion for preliminary injunction on this very issue, the judge specifically asked the attorney for the California Department of Education, are you saying the state is not compelling the school district to enact this rule that says that teachers may not notify parents? The attorney for the California Department of Education replied, yes, they are not compelling the school districts to do so. The judge made sure he understood, asking again, you're saying that? Again, the attorney for the California Department of Education replied yes. In light of this, I would encourage the board to reconsider their policy that keeps such important information away from parents. It is not state law, as some of you may seem to think.
Charlotte Knight. And it looks like Maggie Knight, too.
Having a Jedi group
at my school is important to me because they help support people who don't have as much money. For example, when we did a Halloween costume and winter wear swap, we collected costumes and coats to share with people who couldn't buy one or for people who wanted to reduce, reuse, recycle. Another reason I like Jedi is because they try to make everyone feel included. Like when it was called Donuts with Dad, we changed it to Goodies with Grown-ups because some people might not have dads or might have foster parents. So I think this makes everyone feel included. Thank you for listening.
Maggie Knight. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Maggie, and I'm a parent of 2 students in the Poway Unified School District. I've been participating in our elementary school's Jedi Committee for the last 3 years, and I wanted to share my perspective to help ensure the board knows the importance of this work. As my daughter mentioned, inclusivity is important. Supporting our schools and looking at the language we use is one way that we can help ensure all students feel included. Another aspect that I love about this work is supporting our children to be caring, empathic, and stand up for what's right. Last year, we co-hosted an Earth Day fair and helped our young students learn about the importance of honoring and respecting our land, and even helped them learn to use their voice to share their purpose. I was honored to lead the kids in an Earth Day march in which they came up with the most creative and powerful chants. Lastly, as a mental health therapist, I can tell you that ensuring our children feel safe, valued, and respected is essential to their social and emotional health. Jedi's work is important, and I will continue supporting our mission with our students and community and hope the board sees the value and importance in this work. Thank you.
That concludes all our speakers.
Thank you, Clerk Couvret. That kind of rolls off the tongue nicely. Yeah, thank you. This takes us to approval of our consent calendar. I'll start at the end. Is there anything you would like to pull from consent? No?
We have a comment on 5.3H.
Okay. That's, which one was that? Oh, that's here. This one. Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to approve everything except 5.3H?
I'll make a motion to approve.
On a motion by Dr. Patel, a second by Dr. Seitzma. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. That's unanimous. 5.3H. Let me get to it. This is approval of the agreement with Team CivX Political Consultants. Mr. Little.
Yes, thank you, President O'Connor-Radcliffe. Staff is recommending the engagement of Team Civics as political consultants to the school district. It'll be part of a team that is analyzing the feasibility of placing a general obligation bond on the November 2024 ballot.
Thank you, Mr. Little. And Clerk Couvret, could you call our public speaker?
Frank Shu?
So, first and foremost, it is inappropriate for the school district to plan to issue and spend another bond when the leadership is embroiled in a serious scandal and crisis. You need to build public trust first to let the voters know that you will be trustworthy trustees who care about the students and the community. Look at the infamous Clappergate scandal. Look at the declining test scores and the dismal average daily attendance rate. Look at the rapidly rising chronic absenteeism rate. How can you convince the public that a poll funded by our hard-earned taxpayer money will be well managed by this corrupt leadership? I know you won't change your mind because you guys have the track record to ignore public input. If you want to push through this,
I think it must have been short a minute. I'm sorry. I had to add another minute. Got it? Okay. Sorry about that.
All right, thank you.
Rookie on here.
So if you want to push through this poll abusing our tax dollars, you need to add a question into this survey. Considering that Power Unified Superintendent Phelps is accused of abusing power and forging paperwork to bully her own students and staff, also considering that the school district is being sued because of this, would you vote yes to approve this bond? Answers to that question should give you a clear picture on whether the voters would approve this bond or not. And I know the approach to the voters, and you know I know how to approach the voters. I will make sure that every voters will know this scandal before they vote on this bond. Thank you.
Is there any discussion or any questions on this item? Excuse me? Yes.
Yes, I'd like to ask Mr. Little, what would a bond like this be used for?
The general obligation bond that we're considering putting on the November ballot would be used for facilities improvements, upgrades, modernizations, and other facilities needs for the district.
So this in no way would go to the general fund. It would be, say, for the roofs that are falling in at the schools, for plumbing, for HVACs, things like that.
That's
that
correct.
we do not have in the current balance because the state does not give us any money for infrastructure, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, just wanted to be clear on that.
Mr. Little, I do have a question. For the bond, if it was to go through and we see that there is a need for it, is there a citizens oversight committee that also sees how we're using the funds?
As long as the bond that we place on the ballot is a Prop 39 bond, which I'm sure it would be. Two types of bonds. The Prop 39 bond requires a 55% approval threshold, and that has some additional oversight mechanisms that are part of that bond, and an oversight committee made up of citizens and community members would be part of that oversight.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion? Got to be quick around here. And on a motion by Ms. Plotsky, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Seitzma. And I believe this does, yes, our student board member is entitled to a vote on this one. Aye. All in favor? Aye. That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6.1, approval of salary reallocation for the roofer classification as identified as part of years 3 through 6 in the classification review cycle. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, President O'Connor-Ratcliffe. As part of the classification review cycles that have been performed by the Education Management Solutions Organization, one incumbent serving in the classification of roofer filed an appeal to the results. This appeal was reviewed by the Personnel Commission HR analyst, and through this review, it was noted that the classification's current salary range did not have appropriate alignment within the internal salary structure, in that the roofer has a similar total point factor rating as that of the painter and heavy equipment operator classifications. However, the painter and heavy equipment operator classifications were reallocated from range 37 to 38 in the recent classification review cycle. Based on the Personnel Commission's review of this appeal, it is recommended that the roofer classification also be reallocated from range 37 to range 38 to support internal alignment and keep the salary allocation within 5% of the market median. This recommendation was also approved recently by the Personnel Commission at its November 30th meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Are there questions? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
On a motion by Dr. Patel, a second by Ms. Couvret. Any discussion? No? All those in favor? Aye. That passes unanimously, 5-0. 6.2, approval of certificated substitute teacher pay rate increase. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, President O'Connor-Ratcliffe. Currently, PUSD classrooms, as well as many other school districts throughout the region, continue to be impacted by a shortage of substitute teachers. This shortage is even more prevalent when attempting to assign a substitute to a special education teacher assignment. A recent analysis of substitute pay rates found that school districts in San Diego County have continually increased their rate of pay over the last 2 years to a median level that is now above the district's current rate of pay, which is $180 for day-to-day subs and $200 a day for a long-term assignment. To enable us to attract enough qualified substitute teachers by ensuring we are competitive with surrounding school districts, staff request approval to increase the substitute teacher pay rates as outlined on the agenda item, which includes the following: increase the full day rate of pay to $205 per day, increase the long-term assignment rate to $225 per day effective the 11th consecutive teaching day, and increase the special education full day rate to $225 per day, and increase the special education long-term assignment rate to $245 per day. These increases would become effective on the first instructional day following our winter recess on January 8, 2024, with the board's approval this evening.
I think there are going to be some very pleased regular substitutes coming in, and hopefully this will get us some more. Any questions for Mr. Jimenez? No, is there a motion? There is a question.
I have a question. If there are substitutes that are currently in long-term substitute agreements, would this affect them, or how would it affect them?
It's just so I'm clear on your question. So if we have current long-term substitutes
Yes.
who are on long-term assignments, so when this new increased rate becomes effective, they would also receive that newly increased rate.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I was sensing a motion.
Thank you for this motion.
Okay. A
I
motion
second.
by Dr. Seitzma. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. By Ms. Plotsky with the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This passes 5-0. 7.1, approval and certification of the first interim financial report and approval of resolution number 29-2024, entitled Resolution to Revise the 2023-24 Budget as reflected in the first interim Do I need to start over? Oh, shoot. Okay, long title. 7.1, approval and certification of the first interim financial report and approval of resolution number 29-2024, entitled Authorization to Revise the 2023-24 Budget as reflected in the first interim financial report. Mr. Little.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. This evening, staff presents the first interim financial report for fiscal year 23-24 for the board's consideration and approval. Next slide, please. Here's our agenda for this evening. We'll look at the 2023-24 budgets. We'll look briefly at the state of the state economy currently. We'll look at the Poway Unified School District's multi-year projections for this year and the next two. We'll look at the next steps in our budget development process, and finally, we'll seek board action. Next slide, please. So as you know, this first interim report is one of two required interim reports that talks about our fiscal standing publicly. This one will look at our budgets through October 31st, 2023. This evening, we'll spend a little time looking at some detail of the general fund at first interim, and then we'll look at all the other funds at a high level. As you know, there's three possible certifications. Once we get through this, a positive certification means that the school district is able to meet all its financial obligations this year and the next 2 years. A qualified certification means that we may not be able to meet our financial obligations this year or any of the subsequent 2 years. And a negative certification means that a district cannot meet its obligations in this year or perhaps the subsequent year. As you know, also, we've provided detailed SACS reports, which breaks down all of the budgets by line items to the board electronically and to the public electronically for for all the funds, including the general fund at length. So at this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to our executive director, Ms. Ramiro.
Thank you, Associate Superintendent Little. Good evening, Board President O'Connor Ratcliffe, Superintendent Dr. Kim Phelps, members of the Board and Cabinet. The next few slides, we will provide an overview of the district's first interim budget. Before I start, of course, I want to recognize the great work of our finance team in completing all the required reports for first interim. So starting with general fund, as you can see on this slide, we were projecting a deficit spending of 2.5 million. In first interim, the deficit spending is projected at 7.4 million, which is 4.9 million higher than anticipated. Next slide, please. So here's the general fund combined revenues by major source of funding. Additional revenues of 11.8 million were recognized in first interim, bringing the total revenues to 531.1 million. Next slide, please. On this slide, you will see the breakdown of the additional revenues recognized in first interim. The large amount is the 8 million deferred revenues, or revenues carried over from last year to this year's budget. We also updated the funding for some of the categorical funding, like the Prop 28. There are new small one-time grants added in the budget, and the rest are adjustment in the revenue funding allocations. So overall, 11.8 million total increase in our general fund combined revenues. Next slide, please. As far as expenditures, there are many movements and budget transfers done by, of course, our school sites and departments. But bottom line, the overall increase in expenditures from adopted budget to first interim, as you can see on this slide, is around 34.6 million. Next slide, please. So here you will see notable changes in the expenditures budget that will include the carryovers, 6.3 million in the unrestricted general fund, 18.9 million was added in the restricted general fund. All the deferrals added in the revenues earlier, the same amounts were added, of course, in the expenditure side. We also have an increase in special ed and some small amounts of additional expenditure adjustments. So besides the additions, you will see at the bottom, there are also reductions to the expenditures budget, which will include the adjustment to health and welfare projected increase, savings for vacancies, and we adjusted the budget for teachers based on our current year enrollment numbers. Overall, a net increase of 34.6 million in the expenditures budget in our first interim. Next slide, please. So now let's look at the general fund ending balance and reserve level. Our beginning balance was estimated at 83.3 million in June. We closed the books in August with large carryover and some savings, bringing the beginning balance to 125.4 million. So now our projected ending balance at first interim is roughly 87.1 million, with, of course, the assumption that all of the carryovers added in the budget are expended. The district's reserve level is 9.9% at first interim, very close to the board's minimum target of 10%. Next slide, please. For the district's other funds, all are managing their budgets as planned. All funds are projecting a positive ending fund balance. You will see Fund 63, which is an enterprise fund, without the GASB entries and using the modified accrual-based accounting, the projected fund balance of Fund 63 is at 7.4 million in positive. So let me turn it over back to Associate Superintendent Little.
Thank you, Ms. Ramiro. Next slide, please. So next, we'll share a few slides from the Legislative Analyst's Office and its presentation at CSBA a couple weeks ago, which I know the board attended, as did the superintendent, I believe, related to the state of the state economy. I'm sure it will surprise no one here this evening to learn that California's economy has been experiencing a mild economic downturn based on a variety of economic indicators, which include jobs data, consumer spending, and tax receipts. Next slide, please. The delayed income tax receipts complicated the state's fiscal picture, but now that those receipts have been received and materialized, the economic weakness or shortfall is clear. The LAO projects that for last fiscal year, 2022-23, state tax revenues will fall about $26 billion short of what was budgeted and anticipated. That's a substantial shortfall that has adverse impacts on all 3 years of the state's budget cycle, which we'll see. Next slide, please. Compounding the negative outlook for K-12 districts throughout the state is the large gap between actual ADA and funded ADA. As we all know, for the past 3 years, school districts have been granted COVID relief for declining ADA. This ends this fiscal year. For Poway Unified, this represents approximately 774 ADA, or approximately $8 million of lost funding every year, ongoing, moving forward. Next slide, please. One more piece of problematic news. Contrary to the School Services of California's anticipated COLA range of 2 to 4%, which they've been saying for the last 6 months, for 24-25, the LAO projects that the actual COLA may be closer to 1.3%, and we'll note the impacts of this a little later. Next slide, please. I'd suggest that this is arguably the most important slide in this presentation vis-a-vis the economic outlook for the state. This is from the LAO's report last week. The LAO here notes that the state faces a serious budget deficit. And if you've watched the news, you know that Governor Newsom has basically put a spending freeze in place yesterday or the day before for all state agencies. As you know, or you may not know, the state has a 3-year budget cycle that's different than school district budget cycles. The state's budget cycle starts with the prior year, and that is based on tax receipts that come in the current year, believe it or not, because some of them are tax receipts that are making up from the year prior. Then they have the current year and one subsequent year. We are always looking at the current year and 2 subsequent years. So it makes the timing of the resources a little challenging sometimes. And as many of us know that sit here at the dais, there have been some years where that has led to mid-year cuts. I don't think that there'll be mid-year reductions this year. I think that the state legislature is sensitive is sensitive to, obviously, school districts and the needs. I think that the governor himself has said that, obviously, by declaring a state of emergency, if he should choose to do so, that would free up some of the reserves the state has been very diligent about building up to help us through the current year. But the state's budget is such that the current year state budget, for which we already received most of our funding, is woefully underfunded based on their original estimates. So that means that next year's numbers are artificially inflated, and the year after as well. Next slide, please. So having said all that, let's turn our attention then to our own district's multi-year projections. These are the assumptions that our finance team used to build this budget and the next 2 budgets, which of course are just preliminary at this point. We're suggesting that our enrollment will remain flat this year and the next 2 years. We're hoping and anticipating that the attendance rate for all the work that our teams are doing will increase, although we're being very modest about the expectation with respect to that increase. Our average daily attendance, our ADA, I already noted. You can see that's the 700 plus 770 ADA I mentioned. So we're going from 34,102 of funded ADA down to 33,328 or so. The funded COLA, this year, as you know, we received an 8.22% COLA. We're going to show you some projections based on the 3 COLAs, 2 of which school services are suggesting we look at, and the final one, which is the LAO's 1.27. Unduplicated pupil percentage is not going to change much. Fortunately, the STRS rate looks pretty consistent over the next 3 years, and compared to past years, even the STRS rate is only modestly increasing. Next slide, please. All right, so on the next 3 slides, we're going to consider the impact of the COLA on our general fund budget. And I'd like to just draw your attention to next year. That's the most important year. So we're looking primarily here at 2024, 2025. So in these models, all the other, I'm sorry, let's go back 1 slide. I wanted to mention there's one other important economic factor that I forgot to mention that we have built into next year's budget and subsequent budgets, and that is the fact that the one-time funding that we receive for COVID mitigation relief is going away, right? So this year is the last year, the final year of the $81 million that we received from the state and the federal government for the past 3 years that we've been using to fund positions and other things, obviously. Therefore, in next year's budget at this point, we have included about 48 FTE, which equates to about $6.4 million of positions that are currently funded with one-time dollars, but in next year's budget are currently funded in the general fund unrestricted budget. So that obviously adds to the deficit and the expenditure numbers. Next slide, thank you. All right, so this is the 3.94% COLA. This is probably a best case scenario at this point. You can see that based on that COLA, we're looking at about $15.6 million deficit next year in our general fund and reserve levels of 7.5%. Next slide, please. This is the low COLA of School Services of California. 2.0% would be the COLA in this model. You can see that our unrestricted net activity, our deficit grows to about $23.5 million next year, and our reserve levels fall to 6.1% in the general fund. Next slide, please. And finally, with a 1.27% that the LAO just floated, the general fund deficit grows to $26.4 million next year, and the reserve level falls to $5.5 million. So obviously the wild card in the budget next year, other than enrollment in ADA and any funding, any relief that we may receive from the state, is the range of the COLA. So based on that range from 1.27 to 3.94, our general fund deficit will range from about $15.6 million to $26.4 million next fiscal year. Therefore, staff recommends identifying possible budget solutions that total approximately $15 million for next year, with an eye towards implementing a minimum of $10 million of reductions in solutions for 2024-2025. Next slide, please. So, of course, we'll know much more once the governor releases his January budget proposal, which he has to do so by January 10th of next month. We'll also be looking to validate our enrollment projections, working closely with LSS and PSS and the planning departments. We're going to review our core staffing models to make sure that they are accurate and adequate. And then, obviously, we'll continue to develop the budget solutions, those options which we'll share with the board at a subsequent meeting. Next slide, please. So having said all that, however, the district is currently in good fiscal standing. We're asking that the board approve the current fiscal assumptions and the budgets that we submitted to you. We'll submit these budgets to the San Diego County Office of Ed, and we are confident that this is a positive certification by our board. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Are there questions from the board? Dr. Patel?
I have couple of questions unrelated to each other. First of all, when we were looking at the state budget projections, was part of that due to impacts of delayed tax collection? And can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, well, the overestimation of the revenues was certainly due to the delay in tax receipts, right? So typically, as you know, the state receives taxes in April of each year. So by the time the governor does his May revise, he has a good sense of what the current year resources look like and what future year revenues look like. He didn't have that information last May. And in fact, he didn't even have it in October, right? He just got it last month in November. So they're having to go back and revise last year's numbers based on what he would have had last April, as well as this year's numbers based on those tax receipts that came in 25% lower. The tax receipts themselves came in 25% lower than projected.
Thank you. And then my second question is one I've been asking and curious about for a while. It's regarding the mandatory composting that's starting in January. Do we have an estimate of the increased cost that the district has incurred for that?
That's a good question. I don't know, Dr. Sain, if we've done a really refined analysis of the costs associated with that. We certainly can, and we'll bring that back to you.
I just have a habit of tracking unfunded mandates.
Okay, very good.
I want to have a good grasp of what they are and
We'll
what
do
the
that.
scale of them
Understood.
are.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Ms. Couvret.
So this is sobering.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we love to try to keep a 10% reserve, and this is, you know, sucking it dry for us. So just a couple of questions on page 6. Did we lose the workforce grant, or what's the situation on that one where we thought we had the money and didn't?
Oh, what's that again?
The
Sorry.
workforce person grant, page 6.
Oh, no. When we are building the budget, we do projections, and just so happened that the strong workforce projected was much higher than what is the actual. But this adjustment that you see is not only because of the strong workforce. There are other categorical programs that are being adjusted, but we're still continuously getting, although it's a small amount.
That's disappointing, because I know we used to get quite a bit of money from that grant. And then I was looking on page 7, the capital outlay has increased dramatically. Is this, would be offset by if the bond was to just be decided on to going forward? Would this help offset that area?
No, I think.
No.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll take this one.
You
Okay.
want
This capital outlay really is part of the one-time funding that we
Yes.
received. I think one of the speakers spoke to it earlier. We're using some of the arts and
and
music
music.
and instructional materials block grant for those high security projects like fencing, and what else, Director Waris? Cameras, monitoring systems, fencing, shade structures. So, thank you. That's why this in this particular year, the 6 million going up to 10 million is really erroneously inflated. Typically, it's somewhere between 1 to 2 million each year for capital outlay, but because of that one-time money, we've been putting more of it towards those high needs facilities projects.
And one last question was on page 8, the adjusted FTE. Do we add more teachers? Are we expecting, you know, sorry.
When, well, the projected enrollment when we built the budget is much higher than what the actuals is. So, of course, the FTEs for teachers is based on how many students we are expecting. And since the actual enrollment is lower, those additional teachers in the budget are now being reversed in first interim. So that's really the adjustment.
I think more specifically, I think our transitional kindergarten numbers
Yes.
didn't materialize
Yeah.
as much as we had anticipated.
Anyone before I go back to Dr. Patel? No, all right, Dr. Patel, go for it.
So I want to go back and revisit the two, since we have the band booster parent here from Mount Carmel. With the just to clarify and remind everybody, that discretionary block grant was titled Arts and Music Instructional Block Grant, but the legislative intent of that bill was to actually allow, the written language in that was to allow for it to be a catch-all for districts to do the things that had been deferred for a long time. But they wanted to win public support by calling it the Arts Grant. And then to follow up and just to validate that. And then the Prop 28 funding, although it shows it at nearly $1 million, it has to be distributed based on ADA at certain school sites. So we can't choose where that money goes. It goes to where the ADA is, and it's distributed that way. So we don't have as much discretion with that Prop 28
That's
block grant.
correct. And the Prop 28 funds have the 80% requirement be spent on people.
New people.
New people. So theoretically, 20% could be spent on instruments and other supplies.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions too. You brought it up. It was in the news this morning. What does the spending freeze at the state level mean for school districts?
At this point, it doesn't mean anything for school districts.
Thank you. That's happy news. I assumed that, but always got to ask. I guess my other question maybe is more of a comment, but even at our 9.9% reserves here, we are living pretty close to the margin compared with other districts, as we learned, as I learned at the conference the last couple weeks, that many, actually, I think they said the majority of districts in the state are much closer to 20% in their reserves. I'm wondering if you have a take on that, because off the top of my head, I'm thinking other districts are much higher because they socked away their one-time COVID funding as reserves, and they didn't spend it on helping their students recover. Whereas we spent ours.
We did, well,
As we should
we
have.
certainly spent ours on our students. I'm not really sure how other districts spend their monies. I would imagine that they've been building up the reserves for quite some time and have not, and have been very prudent about building up those reserves. I think that most boards do not have a 10% target, as our board does, so that gives most districts the latitude to grow their reserves. Certainly the small school districts, of which are about a fourth of our 1,000 school districts in the state, and the basic aid school districts really do need to have higher reserve levels just based on the volatility of their budgets. And so that comprises a third of school districts. So I would say that those could, sort of ratchet up the average. That's just an average that you're hearing. So it's not necessarily true of the vast majority of school districts.
Thank you. Point taken. Anybody want to go while I'm collecting my thoughts here?
I can add a little bit of information to that track or train of thought. I know many other districts are able to successfully pass bonds, and so they're not dipping into their general fund for the maintenance and repair work that we've had to do, especially if you look at the cost of the chiller in Rancho Bernardo and Bernardo Heights.
That's
So
true.
many districts have bonds to rely upon for those facilities improvements, and they're able to save more of their money.
That's true. The chiller project at RB is worth about somewhere between 1.5% to 2% of reserves that would otherwise be in our reserves.
I've gathered my thoughts now, too. I wanted to say that 10% reserve level that we've been referring to for a few years as kind of the board decreed minimum. That number was based on recommendations at a time when our reserves were much, much lower than that, and all state school districts' reserves were very low. We were shooting to keep it higher so that in years when we had downturns, we would be able to rely on that. It sounds to me like we may be ready for a new recommendation. If 10% is too low a level, let's have a recommendation come forward sometime soon, letting us know as the board that our new level should be something else. We stuck to that because we had a recommendation and we heard numbers statewide, but those numbers are old. So if we need a new recommendation, please let us know. One more question. Go, Dr. Patel.
Have we heard any talks about deferrals yet?
No, I think it's probably a little early to, if those talks manifest, I think that we'll hear them in
January.
from the governor.
Thank you.
with that, is there a motion to approve this first interim? Oh, it's a long one. I'm not going to read it again. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, on a motion by Dr. Seitzman and a second by Dr. Patel. Preferential vote. Thank you. And everyone else, all in favor? Aye. And that passes 6-0. At this time, I'm going to call a short recess at 7:59. All right, we're back at 8:09. 7.1, approval and certificate, nope, we just did that. Just kidding. 8.1, adoption of advanced placement, pre-calculus, and American Sign Language courses. First reading. Ms. Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, we bring forward 2 new courses. Both courses have been reviewed by representative teachers and administrators. The first course is American Sign Language. In this course, students will develop fundamental skills in American Sign Language, vocabulary, and grammar to meet basic communication needs. Emphasis is placed upon acquisition of both comprehension and production skills. In addition, students will focus on aspects of the deaf community and the development of cultural awareness necessary for communication and interaction. Again, this is a first reading. The second course we bring forward is AP Pre-Calculus. In this course, students will explore everyday situations using mathematical tools and lenses. They will develop an understanding of modeling and functions and examine scenarios through multiple representations. The course framework outlines content and skills needed for careers in mathematics, physics, biology, health science, social science, and data science. This is a first reading. With us tonight are Director Beth Perisic, and actually she told me today her name is pronounced Perisic, but she said if I say that, nobody will know who I'm talking about. So there are both pronunciations. And a secondary mathematics teacher on special assignment, Tracy Jackson. Both are happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. I'm already seeing Dr. Patel, but is anyone else first? She's been first every time. All right, Dr. Patel, early bird catches the worm.
I really don't have to go first every time, but I do have a few questions, and I think we discussed a little bit about this before. Not with the sign language course, I think that's very exciting. I'm very happy to see that come forward. With the AP Pre-Calculus, I do have some questions, and if you could provide some clarity and insight. Has this been approved and adopted by the UC system for acceptance or the CSU system? That's my first question. And then, well, we can get a response so I don't stack them up. Oh, it's tricky.
Start over?
You have to start
Okay.
over.
So that's okay. So they, as far as an advanced math course, a 4th-year course, that will count as far as the A through G requirements. The UC systems haven't made a determination exactly what courses that will cover going in and what kind of credit that will be. They're still working on that. Some of our Cal State schools have different courses it will cover. All the other universities, it's just dependent. I mean, it's like any AP course. They get to decide what kind of course students will, that will cover. So like for San Marcos, if you have a 3 on the AP Pre-Calculus exam, that gets you out of college algebra. If it's a 4, then you get out of the pre-calculus course.
Thank you for that. So there's still a work in progress with our communication with the UCs. Okay. And Beth Perisic?
That's pretty good, yeah, you got it. The UC boards, they're still working on that committee, is reviewing the AP pre-calculus course, the content and the exam, and they have told us that they're hoping to have a decision by early 2024.
So just timing-wise, by us moving forward with this as a first reading now and a possible adoption in the future, we'll be kind of timing it well for when their decision will come out, so our students could, you know, get the most out of it as soon as possible. That's what I'm understanding. And then for an internal decision, as far as adopting this internally, in our current AP Calculus course, and I'm most familiar with the quarter system because that's where my kids have gone. There is a pre-calculus portion at the very front end of their AP class. That is not a weighted class, but this would be a semester long, say at a quarter system school. This would be fully weighted for that semester or that 2-quarter term. Is that correct? And it's to allow a different option for students, maybe who want to delay or slow roll getting into these higher level AP classes. It provides them a different option or pathway. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, it does. So for example, if a student is taking, oh, I got it. Yes, so for example, if a student is taking 1 year of mathematics each year that they're at a quarter school, then in their senior year, AP Pre-Calculus could be that advanced mathematics course that they can opt into, should they choose to do that.
Thank you.
Regarding the American Sign Language, is it going to be at every high school?
So that course was brought forward from Mount Carmel High School, so I know they're planning on putting it on their CRF pending board approval. So I know they definitely want to offer it next year at Mount Carmel. The other challenge to that is finding an instructor. So they'll, pending the approval from the board for that course, they'll want to put it on their CRF, and then as soon as they can, put in the P43 for the staffing for it.
And the other question I have is, I know that we partnered with Palomar, and we had some of our high school kids taking ASL through Palomar. Is that still going to be an option for our kids?
Yes, that will be, continue to be so.
So if our kids don't go to Mount Carmel, say they go to Rancho Bernardo, they would be able to take the one course at Palomar? Is that what you're saying?
They can opt into the course at Palomar, but that would be a transfer credit on their transcript. So they would work with their registrar to sign up for that ASL class at Palomar, and then they could transfer those credits. Now, I will tell you that in sharing the ASL course with the high school principals, as well as with the department chairs for world languages, at all of our high schools, there's definitely enthusiasm. So once the board approves American Sign Language for Mount Carmel, that means that any high school then, after that, can opt in to offer that course at their school.
And this would count as their foreign language credits,
Yeah,
correct?
it's a fine arts credit for us for graduation in the world languages, and then it would count for A to G in the Area E language other than English.
And I just have one more observation / question about the AP Pre-Calculus. I have some concerns about the sequencing, because this is really creating a brand-new math path, a brand-new sequence for students who are not going to get to AP Calculus AB, because the pre-calculus class would not be in the same pathway as the Calculus AB. Is that correct?
For some schools, mostly our quarter schools.
Okay. Okay, again, those are the ones I'm most familiar with. So for quarter schools, it is an either or. For trimester schools, it might be both, is what I'm hearing.
It might take the place of pre-calculus. So when teachers were talking, they identified a course that it could replace. And for some of our schools, that was honors pre-calculus. And for some of our schools, it was pre-calculus, and for some of our schools, it was AFA. So it just depends on the school. It's school dependent.
Okay, so to clarify again, for the quarter system schools where AP Calculus AB is a full year class, but the AP section is just in the middle and there's an honors on both ends, those students who are currently taking that, that's still going to exist. Those students would not take AP Pre-Calculus and take an exam and then take AP Calculus AB. That would not be an option for those students.
For those quarter schools who took the straight pre-calculus.
Okay.
Yes.
I do not envy the school counselors who are going to try to explain these new math choices, but I'm excited that we have another choice for our students who would like it. Thank you. Any other questions? Dr. Patel.
So in addition to seeing APs, I actually am a bigger, stronger proponent of dual enrollment. So I just wanted to make sure that we're not delaying or supplanting any progress towards dual enrollment, perhaps with an that was inappropriate, a community college or a partnership with a CSU for a dual enrollment version of pre-calculus and calculus. I don't want to see one take over the other.
Yeah, I don't think we currently have dual enrollment for pre-calculus.
I'm hopeful.
So I don't think it's there yet. It's really replacing some of our older courses as Common Core sort of came in, and we still had these sort of leftover courses, and this one is updated. So you noticed that you heard the ideas of modeling and everything being embedded in that pre-calculus course. So it actually gives a nice little refresh and makes some of the content pretty much the same content as pre-calculus, but it makes it a little bit more relevant.
And Board Member O'Connor Ratcliffe, to your question, I could envision a student taking pre-calculus their junior year and then still going on to take AP Calculus their senior year and just having a first quarter that's very heavy review.
If they're interested, it might get them interested in it.
Okay, any other questions then? Thank you both so much. And just on a note, Ms. Jackson, you, from my perspective, have done an amazing job as a math TOSA district-wide. I congratulate you on your work. Yeah, thank you. As a first reading, there's no vote. We'll look forward to seeing that on our consent calendar next month. Thank you. 8.2, Transitional Kindergarten Curriculum Adoption, first reading. Ms. Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, we present a recommendation for a new comprehensive transitional kindergarten curriculum. Under the direction of Learning Support Services, a comprehensive curriculum pilot process has been completed. A team of teachers with a variety of experiences from across the district came together to pilot 2 state-approved programs. The team implemented each program and shared their findings with the entire transitional kindergarten team and parent community members before making a recommendation. The focus was on finding a comprehensive, play-based resource that would meet the needs of our PUSD students. Following the pilot, the team is recommending creative curriculum by teaching strategies. And as a reminder, this initial curriculum cost is funded through California State Universal TK funds. Again, this is a first read.
Are there any questions? No? Thank you, Ms. Peterson. 8.3 is our exploration program update. Ms. Peterson, back to you again.
Thank you. Tonight, we are pleased to have Director Eddie Park and Exploration Assistant Principal share an update. Kim Brodus, sorry, I didn't write your name down in the script, share an update on our district-wide K-5 PUSD exploration program.
At Shoal Creek Elementary School, students always look forward to the excitement of Exploration Day. Today, these students are receiving a STEM lesson, applying design thinking to the science of flight and space travel.
Today we learned about NASA and building a landing platform. When humans land on Mars, they won't fall out or they're safe and they don't break their bones or die. They explained it was important because they're going 13,000 miles an hour and you have to stop it so it doesn't just crash and fall into many pieces.
Every day, an expert team of 20 exploration teachers visits 2 to 3 Poway Unified Elementary Schools, bringing them standards-based content in physical education.
So the goal of exploration was, what can we do to bring a program that is the same, that they're all getting the same experience?
Every student at every PUSD elementary school experiences the benefits of the exploration program.
It's just fun and challenging, and it keeps you on your toes, and you're always learning every day. Never the same thing twice.
I think it really allows students to come out of their shells in ways as well, especially if they're doing the theater and the drama part, that maybe we don't get to see so much because they don't have that on a regular basis every day in their classroom.
Along with STEM and theater, the exploration program also offers many other content lessons, including PE, music, dance, and visual arts. Most recently, the exploration program has integrated various global cultures and language lessons.
Being half Filipino, I get the opportunity to share a little bit of my culture, my language. Students are so eager to talk to me about their own cultures and their own languages, and that's truly special to me.
While students are with the exploration team, their classroom teachers are released for professional collaboration time with their colleagues.
It allows us to step outside of our classrooms
and collaborate with one another. I think that is that sacred time that we know is going to be used for our team to get our team business done.
While educators love exploration as an innovative model of instruction, students love it because exploration makes learning more active and fun.
I like exploration because you get to do PE.
For the Excellence in Education series, I'm Brooke Rosenberg, Studio 701.
Good evening, Dr. Phelps. All right, okay. Good evening, Dr. Phelps, President O'Connor Radcliffe. My name is Kim Broadus, and I'm the Assistant Principal for the Exploration Program here in PUSD. I hope you enjoyed the highlight video. It's green. The highlight video that was created this fall with the help of our amazing students from Studio 701. I appreciate the opportunity to share a bit more about our program. Next slide, please. The PUSD Exploration Program is currently in its 8th year of bringing high-quality, standards-based lessons to all TK through 5th grade students across the district. In collaboration with PFT, the Exploration Program was created to fulfill 2 main goals. First, Exploration provides students with the same high-level lessons in STEM, VAPA, physical education, and coding, regardless of which PUSD school they attend. Secondly, on every Exploration Day, when their students are having exploration, classroom teachers are allotted an hour and 45 minutes of dedicated, job-embedded collaboration time with colleagues. This collaboration time is used for teachers to work together to analyze student data, discuss student needs, and elevate best practices within their own classrooms. Next slide, please. The Exploration team is made up of 20 highly qualified veteran Poway Unified teachers that visit all 27 elementary sites 14 times during the school year. On any given day, there are Exploration teachers at 2 to 3 elementary sites around the district. Next slide, please. On Exploration Day, these incredible teachers are paired with a classroom teacher. When the Exploration teacher comes into a classroom, half of that time is spent teaching physical education to students, and half the time is spent teaching a content lesson. Our physical education lessons are centered around physical literacy and encourage students to get moving while practicing developmentally appropriate skills. Our content lessons include STEM, where we focus on the engineering and design process, VAPA, where we have multiple lessons in music, theater, visual arts, and dance, and coding, where we have partnered with the PUSD EdTech team to extend what students are learning with the annual Hour of Code. Next slide, please. All of our lessons have been developed in collaboration with the San Diego County Office of Education, as well as the California Arts Project. Throughout each school year, the Exploration team collaborates to adapt and improve each lesson for the best possible experience for students. In addition, for the last 2 years, we've begun to add global languages and culture to many of our lessons. This includes basic vocabulary as well as elements of various global cultures, especially within our music, dance, and visual arts lessons. Next slide. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about exploration. Next slide.
Thank you so much. Oh, all right.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to read through this one for us?
I
Or should
can,
grab,
of course.
grab
I
questions and
surely
comments?
can. Exploration at a glance. So if you've never seen Exploration before, Exploration is a mobile modular school that brings a specialized experience that enhances student learning to every TK through 5th grade students. 20 passionate, engaging, and innovative veteran teachers that travel daily bring lessons to students. And 14 high quality standards-based lessons in STEM, VAPA, coding, and physical education come to all TK through 5th grade students every year. And finally, it allows collaboration time for teachers to enjoy job-embedded collaboration time, on every Exploration Day.
I love the shirts. You guys look good out there.
Yes, these are new. We have a new logo. That's Axel, our axolotl, which for those of you that don't know is a sea creature that students know because apparently there is a Pokemon character that's an axolotl. But it's been really fun to bring a new logo, and we do have shirts available for all of you. that we will get to you at another time.
Look out. Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yes.
appreciate how much of an evolution the exploration program in our district has undergone, but the equity of experiences across all of our elementary schools, regardless of how much their foundations and PTAs are raising, keeps this program really, really important and a priority for us. So thank you for
Wonderful.
giving us a little update on what it looks like
course.
now.
Of
Are there
course.
questions down the line here?
Yeah.
Sure.
I reached out to a friend of mine who worked with you guys for a couple of years, and she said that the curriculum that you have put together is just unbelievable. She just couldn't speak higher of just how committed and passionate and how much work goes into it. And I just think that's really cool that all the kids get access to these programs. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
I just had a comment. I was in 4th grade when exploration started. And I just remember it being like a really special part of 4th and 5th grade. And I remember doing the little drawings. And the fact that you guys now have global languages too is super cool.
Awesome. That's wonderful.
so
Thank you for
awesome,
sharing
Kate.
that. That's great. Anything else?
So-
Thank you. Oh, yes.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
So prior to my time being on the board, I subbed all the time, and it was primarily in special ed, and I saw exploration a lot. And I know for the gen ed population, they loved it. But when I was in the special ed classrooms, it seemed like they were kind of struggling with the modifying the curriculum, and oftentimes it was just like a video. So it's been a few years, and I'm
Yes.
just wondering if that has been.
I am so glad you asked that question. As Mrs. O'Connor Radcliffe mentioned, exploration really has evolved, and our special ed ESN and SSN classes have evolved with us, and we have worked really closely the last 3 to 4 years with our SPED TOSAs. They've come in and done tons of PD with us, because most of our teachers that work within the program we're not special education teachers, so we needed training on how to best serve all of our students, including our students in our special education classes. So I will absolutely tell you that those lessons have evolved and changed. I actually have a group of the exploration teachers that are our SPED gurus. They have created special kits for every exploration day that align with the lesson that we're doing that day, and whether a particular ESN or SSN class can access our regular lessons, great, that's what we do. But if we need to adapt so they're still getting that same content, but in a little different way, we have the ability to do that too. So thank you for that question. I'm really proud of what we've been able to do there, so thank you.
That's exciting. I'm
Yes.
going to make an attempt to coordinate a time just to come down and
Please.
observe.
Email me, we'll make it happen anytime.
Thank you.
For sure.
I'll just tag on to that. I know it's been a goal also for self-contained special education classrooms to push in their
Yes.
students with the gen ed classes, so that those special education teachers can have their collaboration time with their gen ed grade level counterparts. And
Yep.
that's so important for our efforts at inclusive practices
Yes.
around the
Yep.
district.
100%. And it
it's
really-
not 100% yet, but it's getting so much better.
Yeah.
For sure, and it really does depend on the class. We have many of our special education students that do push in on a regular basis, but when that is not possible, we make it happen for those kids at a level that they can achieve, and we're proud to be able to include everyone. So, thank you, yeah.
Congratulations on this evolution. You guys want to stand up? I see teachers back there with the shirts.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And this was an information presentation, non-voting item. We're at board member reports. Who's first? I'm thinking it's Ms. Trivedi.
Good evening. Just like the rest of the board, I attended the annual education conference in San Francisco this past month, and this was a great opportunity for me to learn more about how to be an effective board member. And so our conference included instruction and information on the Brown Act and parliamentary procedures. But most importantly, this was a great way to network with other student board members and learn about the challenges and solutions that they are working with. more specifically how their districts are handling the new late start policy, as well as the universal meals program. So I'm looking forward to implementing some of the ideas that I got from the conference in the coming year. It was also interesting to find that I was the student board member representing the largest school district there. So that also just reminded me how important our work here is and how much of an impact we're having. And also a huge shout out to the SSAC for the Golden Bell Award. I know they worked really hard last year for the Pursuing Passion, Not Perfection conference, and I'm really excited to work with them this year on the 2.0 version. I've also been spending a lot of time this month learning more about our recycling pilot program that has been implemented at Mount Carmel, Oak Valley, and Park Village. And this program means that there will be recycling carts at each school with categories for waste, recycling, and now even compost and liquid, which is super exciting. And I'm excited to hear that containers for other schools are going to be delivered by January 1st of 2024. And so I'm working with custodial staff to craft messaging that we can spread to students in all schools to make sure that the program is effective. And in the next year, it is my New Year's resolution to visit more school sites to hear about concerns of even more students, to make sure that their voices are being heard and amplified. And I hope that all students have a great break filled with the relaxation that they deserve after a lot of hard work this year. And I hope they get the chance to recharge to make 2024 a year of meaningful learning and community engagement. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's no surprise that with a district our size, there's so much going on. We see some of it in the news, some of it on social media, but there's so much more going on in each classroom at each school site that we don't even know about. I'd like to take a moment to thank the tireless efforts of all of our educators, our support staff, and employees throughout the district for their dedication to our students and the work of public education. It's not always seen, but it's always felt, so thank you. As usual, I will select a few activities to highlight on my board report tonight. Since we last met, we've had a district break for Thanksgiving, and board members went out for our CSBA Annual Education Conference. Speaking of which, we had another excellent session of professional growth for our school board members. I attended the delegate assembly in advance of that CSBA AEC conference, where we discussed legislative priorities, our policy platform updates, bylaws revisions, those are always fun, and board officers elections. We have another San Diego County School Board member who's been elected as Vice President of CSBA. It's been a little while, and we're very proud of Deborah Shade from Solana Beach Schools for being Vice President of CSBA. It's nice to have that representation up in Sacramento. During AEC, I attended sessions on best practices for school board bonds, community college dual enrollment, affordable housing for school staff, and presented on a session entitled Impacts of Political Divisiveness on Schools, Students, and Governance to a standing room only audience. I was also honored to join Dr. Phelps in accepting the CSBA Golden Bell Award on stage for the Superintendent Student Advisory Committee, and it came with a check, which was very nice, on behalf of our board. In the district, I attended the Community Safety Summit on social media use and online safety, as well as the school safety panel on PUSD and law enforcement partnerships. With regards to school threats, that one was very specific. Both were well attended and are available for viewing if you missed the in-person meetings. At the school site level, I attended a very informative coffee chat at Westview High School with another board member, Ms. O'Connor Ratcliffe, and Principal Remillard with the counseling staff. The topic was on college readiness, and we had students join parents in robust discussions around tools, processes, and opportunities. I had the pleasure of attending Mesa Verde Middle School's winter band concert. It's my last winter band concert. And I must offer kudos to Mr. P, Mr. Resto, and Miss Heather for once again showcasing the many musical talents of our middle school students. I'm still amazed that Mr. P has been able to take on teaching both band and orchestra as a band director and growing both programs after COVID-related decline in participation. And that brings me to the conclusion of my report. I wish everybody a wonderful holiday season with their loved ones, and we'll see you back here in the New Year's. Thank you.
Good evening. As we come to the end of 2023 and my first year as a trustee, my board report is more of a reflection of my first year here. I want to thank all the people that have reached out to contact me. I cannot always give you the answers or solutions you're requesting, but I always try to respond with honestly and with as much information as I have. That answer is sometimes I will pass your information on to the people that need to hear your issues to be able to do something about it. I always ask for follow-up myself, even when it's confidential, and cannot share it back out to the public, as in situations about student or personnel. Trust me, I've been on the other end of those emails plenty of times before last year as a special ed parent, and I understand how frustrating it is as a parent. And as a board member, I find the separation from both families at times and even staff that have emailed the most difficult part of this job. If I can find your answer, I will definitely give it to you though. And I have often responded back with those answers. I love helping you find the solutions, as well as the rest of my team here on this panel. No, we are all doing the most we can for all of our families here in the district. I've not made it to every campus, but I've crossed off a good chunk of them across the district now, and that's my goal for the rest of this school year. Just today, I finished my Master's in Governance program and have also taken several other governance and civics finance courses throughout this past year, so I can serve you and our children the best way possible. And as for the rest, I will see you in 2024, where we may all find peace here and around the world. And I want to leave you with this. 'Twas the night before Christmas. He lived all alone in a one-bedroom house made of plaster and stone. I had come down the chimney with presents to give and to see who just in his house did live. As I looked about, a strange sight did I see, no tinsels, no presents, not even a tree, no stocking by the fire, just boots filled with sand. On the wall hung pictures from a far distant land, with medals and badges, awards all of kind. A sobering thought soon came to my mind, for this house was different, unlike any I'd seen. This was the home of a U.S. Marine. I'd heard stories about them. I had seen more. So I walked down the hall and pushed open the door. And there he was laying silent and alone, curled up on the floor and in his one-bedroom home. He seemed so gentle, his face so sincere, and now I pictured, and not how I pictured a U.S. Marine. Was this the hero of whom I had read, curled up in his poncho, afloor on this bed? His head was clean-shaven, his weathered face tan. I soon understood this was more than a man, for I realized families that I'd seen that night owed their lives to these men who were willing to fight. Soon around the nation, children would play, and grown-ups would celebrate on a bright Christmas day. They all enjoyed freedom each month all year because of these Marines, like this one line here. I couldn't help but wonder how many lay alone on the cold Christmas Eve in a far away from home. Just the very thought brought a tear to my eye. I dropped to my knees and started to cry. He must have awoken, for I heard a rough voice. Santa, don't cry. This life is my choice. I fight for the freedom. I don't ask for more. My life is my God, my country, my core. With that, I've rolled over, drifted into my sleep. I couldn't control it. I continued to weep. I watched him for hours, so silent and still. I noticed he shivered from cold night's chill. So I took off my jacket, the one made of red, and covered this Marine from his toes to his head. Then I put on his t-shirt of scarlet and gold with the eagle and globe and the anchor emblazed so bold. And although it barely fit me, I began to swell with pride. And for one shining night, I was a Marine Corps deep inside. I didn't want to leave him so quiet at night, this guardian of honor so willing to fight, but half asleep he rolled over and in a voice clean and pure said, "Carry on, Santa, it's Christmas Day, all secure." One look at my watch, I knew he was right. Merry Christmas, my friend, Semper Fi, and good night. I wanted to read this because in this time where we're at disarray here in our district and in our country and all through the world, I wanted to remind everybody we do this here for our children and to protect our kids. And there's kids all around the world that have protection needed. So that's why I wanted to share it. So whatever holiday you're celebrating this next few weeks, have a good one. Thank you.
All right, so I hope everyone is enjoying the holidays. Safe schools must be our #1 goal because without that, nothing matters. Having attended both safety summits this month, I believe it is evident that this is our priority, but it's very tough because it is a zero game. The first summit was focused on social media and how important it is for families to know what's going on behind the screen. Many times there are signs that someone is in distress, and we must keep our eyes and ears out to see something and say something. Yesterday's was leaders from the county, city of San Diego, and the police. This is a strong example of the importance of combining resources and working together. It's a fine line from putting our kids into a prison-like setting to exposing them to possible dangers. The safety audit we went through a number of years ago identified exposures, and we're working through these areas, but the work is never done. I felt the fear the Shoal parents felt and appreciate their coming and sharing their thoughts and suggestions. I especially agreed with the community watch idea, and I hope that becomes a reality. A year ago, we had a walking bus mom at Chaparral who would walk kids from her house and pick up kids along the way as they walked to school. And those type of things are really fun and also build community. Because as we build community, we can identify threats before they become actions. Thank you to Joel Anderson and the Poway High Foundation for the financial contribution and hard work transforming the library into the beautiful space for our students. The Realtor certification class was a blast with 50 real estate professionals. Thank you to Christine Peck, Ron, Rhea, and TJ for this informative event. There were great suggestions as we try to put this out again to better educate those that represent our districts in other fields. Because the Chaparral Thanksgiving Project is near and dear to my heart for the past 12 years, I wanted to share that we collected 36 baskets and raised over $1,800. Very happy with that one. We'll do it again next year. Holiday with Heroes was an amazing event, providing a special holiday for 150 of our students from Valley, Midland, and Garden. They were paired with 150 heroes from our county, including police, fire, military, and medical. Through the generosity of Kiwanis and the community, they shopped for gifts for their family members. The Ladies of St. Gabriel's wrapped them, and then other nonprofits donated blankets, batteries, hats, and crafts, and they had a super special night for our PUSD families. And a happy note on that is there was a little kid who told her hero she wanted to be an FBI forensics. And there happened to be a lady who did FBI forensics who was like 28 years old who was there, and they got to introduce them, and just her light had up, and who knows, that could have been the spark that leads her through her passion. I want to thank my fellow board members for always putting kids first in all our discussions and decisions. As we each have special areas of concerns, I can always rely on you for being extremely prepared, professional, polite, and caring as we work diligently for all PUSD students, families, and staff. I'm a big fan of New Year's resolutions, which means I first need to reflect on the past year, so the next board report will be looking back on 2023 and forward to 2024. Happy holidays and see you next year.
Good evening. December is always a busy month, filled with hustle and bustle, end of sports season, starts of new ones, cramming in tests before the start of the winter recess, not to mention planning for whatever holiday traditions you embrace. As much as I wish I could be a character in a favorite holiday movie where everything seems to come out with a happy ending, that isn't always the case. There's a lot of stress that surrounds all of these events coming to fruition. Take a moment for yourself each day and be kind to yourself, and take a deep breath when all of the unplanned curveballs are being thrown at you. Here are just a few highlights from my month. I was honored to be part of the first Twin Peaks Middle School Counseling Advisory Committee. There were various stakeholders present. The contributions from the students impressed me the most. Their insight into their needs and their school needs were truly insightful. I commend the counselors for creating a space where students are able to work with them to continue to improve the student counselor teacher service and communication needs. I look forward to the next step conversations. With regards to the California School Board Association Annual Education Conference, it's always nice to be able to attend presentations and have conversations with district leadership from around the state. We do great things in this district, and when others recognize it, it's euphoric and humbling. I'd like to extend my congratulations and kudos to everyone who was involved in helping our district be recognized with the Golden Bell for the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. On a fun note, the conference had a wellness step challenge. I am always up for a good step challenge, especially when there is extrinsic motivation. I'd like to thank my fellow board members for putting up with my incessant motivation to move. While I didn't win a physical prize, I do have bragging rights of sharing that I did take first place with 103,000 steps. I didn't get a physical prize, though, just bragging rights, yeah. I'd like to thank Associate Superintendent Mizell for arranging the expert panel on threat assessment at last night's special school board school safety summit. It was a particularly difficult conversation given the understandable concern over student safety and communication. The more of us that come together to work together to keep an eye out for our children and each other, the safer we will all be. It is easy to become complacent until a threat hits close to home. We need to learn from those unfortunate incidents, listen to each other, and continue to do better. Whatever your special traditions are this time of year, I hope that they bring beautiful memories and peace to you and your family. If you are traveling, be safe. May we all enjoy some well-deserved R&R. Happy holidays, Happy New Year, and we will see you in 2024. And with that, I conclude my report.
Thank you, Dr. Seitzma. Since others have covered a few of the things that I attended as well, I will just tag on to the California School Boards Association Conference. I got kicked out of Dr. Patel's session, standing room only, for blocking the fire door, and Dr. Seitzma owes her STEPS Award all to me. Otherwise, I spoke with the Special Education Community Advisory Committee before Thanksgiving break. It was my month rotation. I thanked them all for their work to help us better represent our students with disabilities. And I put out a couple of calls to action to them, our active parents in the district, to seriously think about establishing a vocabulary, an appropriate language task force, and pushing for their schools to seek the Unified Champion Schools designation as a piece of the site's equity and inclusion goals. I think these are important. I hope that they heard the call. I saw a lot of nodding and smiling, but I'm going to keep talking about it until it starts happening. I also reminded everybody about our district's targets for improving the number of our students who are in a general education setting for 80% or more of the day, and highlighted Garden Road's efforts to move the needle at their site. I think both Dr. Seitzman and I talked about that last month. I also spoke briefly to them to share my personal experience with the way our alternative diploma program is being implemented for my child. I never expected high school academics to feel accessible for him, but he is engaged and he is succeeding with grade level content. He made honor roll for trimester 1. My son got a B in biology. I'm so excited. It's a work in progress, clearly, but I want to definitely take every opportunity to commend all of the staff working so hard to make that access diploma pathway work for our students with disabilities. It's making a difference. As a parent,
I see it. It's hard for me not to like get teary and choked up every time I see it. It's something new in his backpack coming home, 100% on a quiz that he never would have taken before because he never would have seen the material. It's a wonderful program. I encourage you to find out more. God, it's just going great. Also, kind of in the same passion pathway for me, after reading some of the recent news stories, I took a field trip to the Abraxas Transition Program's Kitchen Table Academy to see it for myself. I encourage everybody to get over there. It's great. Ms. Kraft, it was explained to her students about food safety recalls, what that meant, why that's important. And she led a hands-on lesson preparing gourmet French toast, which we did eat, so get over there. Find out what they're making first. But she had a guest lecturer, a student who was a graduate of our transition program also, talking to students about his entrepreneurial experiences with home kitchen brownies and cinnamon rolls and what it takes to sell those items and that entrepreneurial spirit. So I cannot wait to see this turned into a full-blown student-run cafe. I think that is the goal. The program has my support, and it really does deserve our full district support, whatever we can do. I went, on Tuesday, just this week, I volunteered to help out with the Mount Carmel Library Advisory Club's craft project. Our students, partnering with the librarian there, they signed up in advance to come to the library at lunch to make Yeti ornaments. Picture just like blue abominable snow monster with cotton balls and a lot of glue and googly eyes. It was literally the stuff of elementary school art projects, but these are high school kids who spent all of this time laughing, playing with the glue, getting it all over the tables, which I had a lot of fun wiping down afterwards, but trying to decide whether to make their Yetis happy or mean. I was just shocked at the number of kids who showed up. They didn't have enough craft kits for the number of kids who showed. They could have had double the number, and they still would have run out. Just thanks to them. That was a great project, and I was so happy to see that. I had a great time today with Ms. Trivedi and speaking with the Westview Political Awareness Club. They let me drone on and on and on, and they even acted interested. I credit Ms. Trivedi for that. Wrapping this up, our high schools have announced their spring musicals. The Bronco Players are putting on Shrek. Del Norte Theater is doing Little Shop of Horrors. Theater at the Mount, Into the Woods. Westview Theater Company, Mean Girls. And Titan Theater is doing Little Mermaid. So when you go, you might even notice some of the early upgrades to our theaters that we've been able to undertake with part of that state VAPA grant. More to come in the next year or so, or maybe 2 years. I hope the things I've chosen to highlight tonight demonstrate my respect for the work of our parents and our staff and our students too. They're always busy, always doing the work, the hard work, and the fun work as well. But beginning my 10th year on the board now is a chance for some reflection on where this district was when I began and where we are now. And I would say without a doubt, I am confident that we are in a much better place than a decade ago. And the change keeps coming. And as long as, I think as Ms. Couvret was saying as well, as long as our focus remains on what's best for all of our students, we will continue to find common ground even when our approaches might differ. I hope that everyone can keep that in mind, that our differences are not that big. We do all want what's best for our students. So on that note, I hope we all have a wonderful break to recharge and maybe just to take some time to reflect on where you'd like to make an impact next. 2024 is coming. Where are we going to make our impact now? Dr. Phelps.
Thank you, Madam President. We have several recognitions of note to present to the board this evening, and I'd like to highlight just a few tonight. Congratulations to Rancho Bernardo High School Royal Regiment Band and Color Guard for winning the Southern California School Band Field Championships. Congratulations to all of our high school bands for the culmination of a strong season and placing in their respective divisions as well. We had 2 PUSD students named among San Diego's most remarkable teens. Vadihi Kulkarni from Del Norte High School received the award in the Entrepreneur category for creating a nonprofit organization, the Special Entrepreneurs, to equip individuals with disabilities with financial literacy. Zania Qatar from Del Norte High School also received the award in the STEM Innovation category. Zania leads Scientella, a nonprofit organization that promotes the next generation of women in STEM. I always get amazed at how amazing our kids do in our schools, the type of work that they do. As you heard in the board reports, the board members and I have had an opportunity to attend and be presenters at various sessions for the California School Boards Association Conference. This was an excellent time for learning and professional growth as we continue to move forward as a highly effective governance team. Last week, I had an opportunity to attend the Rancho Bernardo High School Orchestra concert. Thank you, Mr. Christie, for your invitation. I also had the opportunity to observe several middle school performances at that same concert, and it really was truly amazing. And I was telling Mr. Christie that to watch the talent of our students, they perform better than college kids do. And they're just so talented, and their performance really, truly brought tears to my eyes. When I went to visit them, when I walked RB High School a few weeks ago, when I went to watch them, because I was right next to them, I couldn't help but I was just started tearing, because I got so immersed in the powerfulness of the music and the sound, and just so much pride in watching them and how talented they were. It was just amazing. So today I had opportunity to go to D39, walk classrooms, and one of the things I was really excited to observe and watch was to observe the election of the Black Student Union having their election of officers. Many people don't know, but D39 started a Black Student Union because last year they had many incidences of racial-related hate speech at the school. And happy to note that this fall they took a survey and it revealed that the student group that feels the most belonging at D39 are their African American students. So the work that they're doing truly has made a huge difference, and they're expanding their student groups even more to other groups. So they're doing a phenomenal work, and so it was really great for me to go there and observe and see that in action and watch and listen to all the kids' speeches too. It was so cute. They had so many kids that were involved. They have a Black Student Union for the older kids, the 6th through 8th, and then they had to start another one for the younger kids for 3 through 5. So, as college application season for our high school senior comes to a close, I want to highlight the ongoing memorandum of understanding between PUSD and Cal State San Marcos. Tonight, the board extended this MOU that offers guaranteed admission to PUSD students with a GPA of 3.0 and above. This is an exciting option for many of our graduates who want to continue their education at an excellent university right in our own backyard. I want to extend my congratulations to our student board member who just heard tonight that she was accepted by Harvard University. Congratulations. And I'm proud to announce that my daughter received her acceptance to Princeton University tonight as well, too. Finally, it is with deep appreciation and gratitude to our school board and staff that we have successfully closed out the 2023 school year with much success. Thank you, Team PUSD, for your hard work and dedication. It takes all of us working together that makes PUSD one of the best school districts in the entire country. I want to wish you and your families a wonderful holiday season. I hope you are able to find time to rest and have quality time with your loved ones. I want to wish you all a happy new year, and we'll see you all in 2024. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Phelps. Thank you to my fellow board members for trusting me with this sacred tool. At this time, next regularly scheduled board meeting will be on Thursday, January 18th, 6 p.m. That's 2024 for all of you. We'll see you then.